I'll just go through the basic concepts of MQ, and before I get started with the MQ, I'll just give a quick walkthrough. Okay, why MQ is like being required when we were using like a WMB or IIB. Okay, I would say like the first 2 to 3 sessions, it's more of a theoretical. Okay, but these are a kind of a fundamentals before we get into the details of IIB. Okay, anytime if you're having any questions, stop me there and there itself, or else it's up to you guys. I mean, in sense, towards the end of the session also, we can have a discussion. I mean, whatever the open queries which we have. I'm fine with either ways.
Sure.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Before we get into MQ first, okay. Yes. Let's have a quick introduction on the message broker or IBM Integration Bus. Probably like some of you might have already listened from me in the demo session, but again, like I just, it's more of a quick intro. IBM is having like the different ESB products, the IBM vendor. Okay, one will be the BESB, another is WMB, third one is a data path. Now, in these sessions, we are mainly focusing on WMB IIB. Okay, so just to give a version history. Okay, so before WMB, it used to be called with a different name, starting from a version 5. So IBM renamed it to WebSphere Message Broker, and after that, like they have released version 6, version 7, version 8. Okay, but starting from version 9, IBM like completely renamed the message broker to a different one called IBM Integration Bus. Okay, so probably some people will call it as like IB, like Integration Bus. Some people will call it as IIB. So IBM Integration Bus. Okay, but again, like from version to version, yes, there are like a few changes with respect to the version 5, 6, 7, 8 and all. Some of the concepts which they have newly introduced, some of the things which are like not required, so they have deprecated in the lower versions. Okay, and now the latest version which is available in the market is version 10. Now, the version, I mean, starting from version 10 only, it supports the cloud integration. So rest of all, like only like on-premise integration. So anytime if customers say, okay, yes, we want to go towards the cloud migration, the minimum requirement with respect to the IIB is we have to have a version 10. Okay. Now, let's keep a version 10 aside for a time being, because they have, I mean, they have introduced like a little more architectural changes. Okay, I'll come to that in a few minutes. Okay, but before this, whatever the versions which you are seeing right now, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay, all these versions would require a MQ as a prerequisite in order to create a broker runtime. When I say runtime, it's nothing but a server. Okay, typically like not only the message broker application, if you're working on any of the development, we will be creating a development artifacts. End of the day, those artifacts will be deployed to server, and then we will do the testing. Here also the same thing. Okay, just terminology will get changed. Okay, we will create integration flows, or we'll create a message flows, and then we will deploy into the broker runtime or the broker server. Okay, coming back, I mean, no matter which version which we are using, like a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, for all these versions, MQ is a prerequisite in order to create a broker runtime. In a sense, I want to have a sample broker runtime. In order to create a sample broker runtime, in a sense, sample broker, we need to have a MQ. So broker is kind of associated to the particular queue manager. Okay, but there is a one more difference with respect to 5, 6. Okay, until version 6. Whenever like we are creating a broker run, we have to have a prerequisite of MQ as well as DB2. Okay, so I'm just giving an introduction. Definitely, like I mean, if you are looking for the background. Okay, whenever like you are facing any interview, definitely people might question you. Hey guys, what exactly the major differences with respect to the version 6, version 7, or version 8, version 9, or probably the 9 versus 10, whatever. Okay, so this I can say predominantly like a version 6 till version 6. Whenever we calling it as like a broker runtime, we have to have a MQ as well as the DB2 as a prerequisite. Starting from version 7, we don't require DB2. We just require only MQ just in order to create a broker runtime. This is applicable for 7, 8 as well as 9. Okay. Why we require either MQ or DB2? When we are saying, okay, yes, we are creating a broker runtime, and internally broker is depending on the MQ as well as DB2. What exactly these two products does, okay, in terms of a runtime? Okay, no, whatever the things which you are calling it as, okay, yes, some developer A has done some changes, in a sense some development. Developer B is working on some other module. Similar ways, like whoever is, I mean, there are like a multiple modules which are being executed by developer. When it comes to the individuals, he wants to test his code, other developer wants to test his code, whatever. Now, there has to be a communication has to happen between the development environment as well as the runtime environment. Okay, we will say, okay, yes, I want to deploy the flow, I want to test the flow. Okay, I want to enable the debugger, I want to launch the debugger. Okay, these are like a quite common things. And with respect to the server, internally server has to communicate with the different systems or the different underlying architectural components which are related to the broker. So we are talking about like a lot of communication. And also broker has to keep a track of what kind of activities which is happening within the broker. For those related activities, MQ and DB2 is going to have a major role. DB2 is being mainly used for the storage purpose. MQ is being used for the communication purpose until version 6. Starting from version 7, 8 and 9, okay, I mean, in fact, starting from version 7 itself, IBM has removed the dependency with respect to the DB2. In a sense, they have removed the storage dependency on DB2, which means someone else has to take care of the event storage, whatever the events which are happening in the broker runtime. So that functionality they have moved towards MQ. So starting from version 7, MQ doesn't act as only as a communication mechanism. It acts as a storage for the broker events. Okay, that applicable for version 7, 8 and 9. So anytime if they say, okay, we want to create a sample broker, what exactly the things which we require? Yes, we require a sample queue manager, then we can create a broker. So these two are associated when it comes to the broker. Now, I hope you remember the three terms which we which I have given like during a demo time. The development will happen on the MB toolkit or else the IIB toolkit. Okay. Wherever I'm stressing like the IIB word, which means I'm talking about either version 9 or version 10. So wherever I'm talking about like a WMB, which means I'm talking about the previous versions which are less than version 9, like 7, 8 or 6. So development will happen, which is nothing but the IDE. They call it like a toolkit, which was built on Eclipse platform. So basically, like the development will happen over here. We will create applications, message flows, message models. All the development will happen within the toolkit. And also, whatever the artifacts which we created as part of a development, that we will be packaging, that we call it as bar file, broker archive file, which is nothing but compressed version of the development artifacts. That also will happen in the toolkit. Now, in order to deploy the artifacts, which is nothing but the bar file, we need to have a runtime. So in lower, specific to the version 6, 7, 8, they call it as a broker runtime. Okay. Starting from version 9, IBM has changed the name to integration node. When we say broker runtime, it's nothing but the broker server, like a broker. So they changed the name to integration node, which is nothing but the broker. But again, we will be having a sub-components with respect to the broker runtime. That is being called as execution groups in lower, lower versions. From IIB 9, it's being called as integration server. On a high level, in a particular broker, we can have a multiple execution groups, or in a integration node, we can have a multiple integration servers. I would say like, if you are working on like any of the Java J2 applications, we will be having a multiple nodes. We will be having like one bash server. So there we can have a multiple nodes. Let's assume like a membership node, like the clients node, eligibility node, something like that. So we can host multiple applications on the same application server. Here also the similar concepts. The broker runtime is nothing but the broker, whereas we can have a multiple execution groups. In a sense, like project one team is using like a EG1, other project team is using like a EG2. Similar to that, we can have a n number of execution group. Each execution group or integration server is associated with one JVM. Okay. We will, definitely later we will understand why JVM is required at the integration server level. So far we are talking about the broker communication, whatever. But when it comes to the testing, in a sense, the process testing. So in order to read a file, in order to send a message, in order to interact with the web service, definitely we need to have an internal process as well as a memory. So the EG or integration server is being associated with the one JVM. When I say we have a 3 execution groups, which means we have a 3 JVMs in place for a execution group or integration servers.
Hello. So that means the single JVM is associated for every execution group, or it can be multiple?
It's not. Let's go in the reverse direction. Whenever we say, okay, we created an execution group or integration server, which means there is an associated JVM for that integration server.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Probably like, now I'm not sure, you might be, you are thinking about, okay, how to communicate the, like more than one integration server, or else how to access the contents from here to here. There is a concept of global cache. It's again, at this point of time, think that we can access artifacts from one server to another server, or else there are common artifacts which can be utilized from these integration servers that we will discuss probably down the later.
Okay, thanks.
Shiva, is the integration servers are going to be subsetted the integration nodes? It means that one integration node will have multiple integration servers. Is it?
Correct.
Okay. And each integration server will have a respective JVM.
Yes. So these two things are visible. Integration node and integration server are visible. We can't directly see the JVM contents within the whatever the Explorer. These are like internal with respect to the server.
The JVM is Java Virtual Machine. Is the same? Is that same thing?
Yes, same thing.
Okay.
Okay, fine. And also starting from version 8, we have a web console as well for message broker application. Okay. In a sense, when I say starting from version 8, it's applicable for version 9 as well as version 10. Directly, you can see the message flow statistics in a high level. We have deployed the message flow. Okay, we were doing some kind of a testing, like processing 100 messages, or we are trying to do some kind of a batch processing. On a high level, we want to see how much CPU is being utilized. Okay, what exactly the process time which is being taken to fulfill that particular batch processing or whatever. So everything can be view with respect to the web console that was available starting from version 8. Before that, we don't have any web console in message broker. And we have another the component called Explorer. Either they call it as Integration Explorer or MB Explorer. So here, this is like a one artifact, the toolkit, IIB toolkit. Okay, altogether the runtime is like a different artifacts. Okay, now think about the project scenario. Okay, we will be having a developers and also we'll be having an infra team. Okay, we can connect to the broker runtime or integration node directly with respect to the toolkits. From the toolkit itself, directly we can connect to the broker runtime or integration node, no matter whether it can be the local one or the remote one. In a sense, I'm working on a local system, whereas I can connect to the remote broker with the help of some parameters. The connection parameters we will go through little later. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, whenever we are working on the development, we can try to access the local broker which is created on our system. At the same time, we can access the remote broker which is being hosted in a different server. Okay, just we need to know the connection parameters as well as the associated information. So being an administrator guy, I want to look into some of the broker artifacts. Probably I want to do some kind of a fine tuning, or else I have to apply some other additional configuration properties on the broker runtime. So typically for that, I won't require the toolkit. I just need to work on the runtime alone. For people like the administrator or infra guys, they will be working on the Integration Explorer. Again, this is a GUI tool, Integration Explorer. Whatever the things which we are going to do in the GUI Explorer, everything can be done with the help of command line also. It could be MQSI commands or whatever the commands. Whatever we are doing in GUI, everything can be done with the help of command line also. Okay. So typically, like when we are going to install, we are going to install these three components, like the broker toolkit or IIB toolkit, and also the broker runtime. Okay. And then Integration Explorer. And as you guys know, if we are going to use version 9, MQ is a prerequisite, and we are going to install the MQ as well. I'll ask Santosh to share the links wherever where we can find the softwares. So probably you can go ahead and installation. It's a pretty much straightforward installation. All are like a Windows application. I mean the Windows related softwares.
Okay.
Before I move further, any questions so far?
Yeah, Shiva, the one question I have. When we are using the DB2 for storage purpose, right? What kind of storage? It's like, and whatever the services we developed will be stored on DB2 or?
No. The DB2 is related to the internal broker internal communication. When I say server might be doing like a lot of activities, interacting with other services, interacting with message flows, interacting with other artifacts. So whatever the things that are happening at the server level, there has to be a kind of repository.
Correct.
For that, the DB2 is being stored. I mean, the DB2 is being used in version 6.
Okay.
Okay. Now, coming back to version 9 and version 10. Okay, there is like a little more variance with respect to the version 9 and version 10. Okay. So predominantly, like if someone asked, okay, what exactly the major difference which we are seeing with respect to version 9 and version 10? Okay, in up to V9, as I mentioned, we would require a MQ in order to create a broker runtime or the integration node. Okay, whereas V10, okay, version 10, we won't require MQ also in order to create a integration node. But the thing is, if at all, if we want to interact with any of the MQ systems, or else there are like a certain nodes which are available in the IIB Integration Bus. If at all, if we are going to use those specific nodes, we would require a MQ connectivity. Okay. Again, this is just like a theoretical. You will get a more idea why we were having a dependency with respect to the MQ for a certain nodes. Okay. High level, just think like V9. We require, in order to create a V9 broker, we require an MQ. V10, it's like a single installation file, and up to V9 and all, like okay, we will be having a multiple installables. One for a toolkit, one for MQQ manager, one for runtime and all. V10 we have just one single installable. As soon as you click on installation, it creates the toolkit as well as the runtime. In that way, we have to create. I mean, we have to explicitly install the MQ. So that is the one major difference with respect to the V9. Okay, but again, like as soon as we get into more detail with respect to the development, then we will get to know what exactly the other differences with respect to the versions and why we need an MQ if at all if you want to go with the specific nodes. Okay. Fine. So now let's, before again get into the MQ, I hope you guys are aware of protocol. The different protocols which normally like which we will be using on like a daily basis, probably the SOAP protocol or FTP, JMS, JSON.
Right.
and also
Yeah,
the
yes.
form. I mean, if at all, if you want to do like a file transfer from one system to one system, even normally we will be using like a pen drives or like a hard drives in order to copy the file from one location to another location. Internally, it uses like the FTP or SFTP, depending on the secure versus non-secure. And we will be sending like emails on a daily basis. So internally, the communication will happen on the based on the protocol of SMTP, the mail transfer protocol, and we might be reading the emails also. So there it will be like using either IMAP or POP depending on the exchange server configurations. And we know like okay the different web services. So pretty much like everyone will be using the credit cards or debit cards. As soon as like we went to any store, we will swipe the card. Internally, it's interacting with the payment gateways. It can be like a Visa gateway or Master gateway or whatever the third-party gateways which are available in the market. Okay. In addition to that, we have another. Okay, it's more of MQJMS. These are also like the different protocols that we will get to know when it comes to the application integration. Similar to this, we have different protocols. Okay, why we need to? I mean, in fact, as you guys are aware, okay, it's a ES. I mean, MB or IIB is a ESB tool. Pretty much like we will be more focusing on the integration. In a sense, how exactly we can interact with the different systems. Okay, when I say the different systems, the two major things which we need to consider: what kind of a communication which is available in order to interact with the system, and also what kind of a format which I'm supposed to send it to the system. In a sense, okay, if multiple people are there and who doesn't know like the common language, I mean, everyone knows like different languages, like one Telugu, another person like a Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam. So end of the day, we have to have a kind of a common language to understand. I mean, the communication among the different systems, and also we need to be focused on the format also. Again, there are like the different formats: CSV, fixed length, okay, XML, JSON. The same employee record can be represented in a multiple ways. Let's assume employee ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His name is XYZ. Okay, first name is XYZ, last name is ABC. Okay, his location is like India. I mean the employee location. This is like a CSV representation. The same record can be represented in a fixed length format. Let's assume we have defined 10 characters for employee ID. So we have a 6 characters now. So the remaining 4 will be paired with the spaces 1, 2, 3, 4, and the first name we have given like some 15 characters. So we have only 3. So the remaining 12 characters will be paired with the spaces. Same thing with the last name. We have given it as a 10. So the remaining things will be paired with the spaces. This is a fixed length format. No matter whether we have the data, I mean, we will be defining the structure. Okay, employee record, the ID consists of 10 characters, first name consists of 15, last name of 10, location of 5 characters. Depending on the data availability, we have to fill with the corresponding padding spaces or like any special characters just to differentiate. It's not a data. The same thing can be represented in XML way.
Venu, I think there is a background noise from your end.
Okay, so I mean like this. I mean this is an employee root tag. We can have an employee ID, first name, last name, as well as the location. This is how the XML data looks like. In fact, the JSON you can also represent the same information like an employee, then EMP ID, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and the first name, whatever XYZ. Similar to this, we can also have a JSON representation. Okay, here the data is similar in a sense. I mean, we were trying to represent the same data in a multiple formats, but end of the day, if you look into the content is same. But what exactly is being changed is the representation. Okay, the data representation. Now, when we say, okay, we were dealing with the integration, okay, being from the IIB or like we want to have a interaction with the probably the downstream systems, or else the upstream systems wants to have an interaction with IIB. Okay, let's assume like we have some process flow defined. Okay, in order to interact with IIB, the consumers have to send the proper communication, in a sense, the right protocol along with the right format. At the same time, if IIB wants to interact with the other systems, other the destination or the downstream systems, we need to be aware what kind of a protocol does the downstream system support and what kind of a format that we need to send it to the downstream systems. Now, coming back to the message format now, like now we will get into the MQ. Okay, so MQ stands the message queuing. Okay, so what exactly that MQ does? It provides the communication and also it provides the storage. When we say, okay, I'm sending some kind of a text message to one of you guys. Okay, or else like I'm kind of broadcasting the message saying like, hey guys, like we have a session from 8 to 9 today. Okay, as soon as I send a message, I need to know to whom and all I have to send a message. I mean like the Venu, Prapul as well as Arun. Okay, those are the recipient addresses which I need to know. If I'm sending a message to your mobile, I need to know the 3 mobile numbers, then only I can send. But if you observe, we are just choosing the particular number and we were giving the text stating like, okay, session from 8 to 9, that's it. But we didn't even know what exactly happening internally. In a sense, okay, as soon as you click on the submit button, it goes to the particular exchange. From that exchange, it routed to the destination mobile number. Depending on the availability, the message will get reached. If the person is not available, in a sense, the mobile gets switched off, or if he's not in a coverage area. So as soon as the message, his mobile gets the signal, the message will be reached to him. This is more of a asynchronous communication. Okay, so MQ is mainly for asynchronous communication. So what exactly the advantages over asynchronous and synchronous communication compared to the synchronous? Whatever you guys are hearing right now, it's more of synchronous. If I'm saying something, you should be able to hear me. Due to some network connectivity or okay, some kind of a bad signal, there could be a possibility that some of the data which I'm delivering might get lost. So there is no way that we are going to recover that kind of a content when it comes to the synchronous. But whereas the asynchronous, the same example, yes, I have sent a message to you 3 guys. 2 guys are available instantly, they got the message. The third person is not in the coverage area, or else might be his system mobile got switched off or whatever. So as soon as he switched off his mobile, or else when he get a network coverage, he should be able to get the message. There is no way that the message is going to be lost in the asynchronous communication. So this, this is how we need to differentiate when it comes to the project. What kind of a requirement that the customer is looking? Okay. Some customers, they say, okay, no matter how many messages which we are sending, there should be like a zero loss. Sometimes they say, okay, fine, though we are sending few messages, even though if you lost, we have a mechanism to resubmit those. In that case, typically we can go with a synchronous communication. I'm just giving an overview. Down the line, when we get into more IIB development, we will get an idea where to use a synchronous, where to go with asynchronous, or else depending on the communication protocol, we can identify what kind of a communication it is. Message as well as a queuing. Okay, message stands the content, whatever you are trying to send, and also the queue stands for storage as well as the communication purpose. To whom are we supposed to send? What kind of a message are we supposed to send? Okay. Going forward, there are like a few terms which I'm going to use. So there is a concept of payload, okay, and there is a name called message. Okay, when we say message, okay, whatever the content which I'm talking, okay, session from 8 to 9. Okay, this is the message which I'm talking about. But along with this, there are like other hidden properties associated to this message. There are like a lot of headers, I can call it as. Okay, the communication protocol. I mean, internally, like some other additional characteristics which are related to the message. So when I say message, which is nothing but header as well as body. Okay, we will see in detail. Okay, what exactly the header and what kind of information does header stores. Okay, rather than saying more theoretically, the first example which you are going to do in IIB, you will get a complete idea what kind of a headers which you are going to deal with. On a high level, who has sent a message? Okay, what kind of a protocol? At what time we receive the message? What exactly the encoding type? In a sense, what kind of a format which a source is sending it to us? The text format, binary format, ASCII or whatever. Okay, and also the reply queue communication in case of a request response. In a sense, the consumer is trying to send a message, whereas he is expecting some kind of a reply back from the provider. In a sense, the source system who is going to process the message. To give an example, we were swiping the card. Okay, as soon as we swipe the card, that magnet reader will fetch the information, the required information, the card number, the card ID, whatever the relevant details, and send it to the payment gateway. But it doesn't mean like, okay, it's only sends information, but it waits for the response also. So the payment gateway does the job. In a sense, the validity, what kind of a card it is, like, okay, whether the card is valid, everything it does. Then it gets an instant response. Then only it will prompt us to enter the amount. Okay, whether you want me to deduct $100 or like $150 based on the dollar amount. Then again, it will send another request to the payment gateway. Payment gateway process that request and finally sends a response back. So whatever the information which you are sending, that is just a body, like entering the card number or like entering the dollar amount. But internally, there are like a lot of hidden information which is being circulated along with the body. So going forward, wherever I call it as a message, okay, which means I'm referring both header as well as body. Okay, wherever I explicitly call it as a payload, which means I'm talking about the body content alone, which means this one, session from 8 to 9 is the payload in our case. Okay, so you know what is mean by queue, the typical example which we know. I mean, people are standing in a queue or like people are standing in a line. Okay, it's more of like an organized way of the objects where the first objects which get in, it has to come out first, and also I mean like a first in first out. Okay, but again, like there are a few priority queues. Okay, sometimes if you go to the airport, you'll see, okay, some priority access channel. So we don't need to stand in the normal lane. So directly you can get into the priority access, given that you are having a sufficient permissions or privileges to get into that one. The same applies here also. Within a queue, we will be having a different priorities. So anytime the queue is going to give a priority to the, I mean, more priority to the priority objects compared to the normal ones. Now, in MQ, we are going to deal with the queue managers. Okay. Queue manager is a one which stores all the information with respect to the associated objects. When I say objects, queue manager will consist of queues as well as channels, listener, and port, and other things as well. Okay, these are the typical queue manager, I mean MQ objects are like a queue manager objects. We will be having a queues, channels, listeners, port, as well as other objects. Again, as we know, queues are meant for a storage. Again, like we have a different kinds of queues. Okay, some of the queues which are meant for a storage, some of the queues which are meant for a communication. Channels is more for a communication perspective. Okay, what kind of a communication which we want to establish? Is it from source to destination, in a sense, sender to receiver, or else receiver to sender? Sometimes it can be vice versa. In a sense, the same channel can act as a sender as well as receiver. Listeners, if someone sends a message, okay, let's assume I'm keep on sending a messages to you guys. Okay, so somehow like you have to listen. In a sense, your mobile is capable of receiving those messages in a quick time or whatever it is. So listeners is nothing but the objects where it listens as soon as like whenever there is a message which is associated to them. Okay, port is meant for the communication. Let me show you one diagram so that we will get some idea. Okay, this is like a typical example how the MQ objects, how the MQ communicates to another object. In a sense, like, okay, we have a application program 1 and we have application program 2, but it can be connected in many ways. With respect to the MQ, yes, we will be having a MQ APIs internally. With the help of MQ APIs, we will be connecting to another applications over the network. Okay, if network is not available, consider both the applications are available in the same system, then we can have a direct connection. If at all, if application program is available in system 1, which is in New York, if application program 2 is available in another location, which is in London, then obviously we would require a network setup to have an interaction between these two queue managers. Typical queue communication. Some source application will be sending a messages, some consumer application will be trying to consume the messages. Okay, whatever we are seeing in the queue, right, those are the actual objects which needs to be sent to the destinations. Okay, these are more of a, you can call it as a communication channels. And another important thing, if we are, okay, here there is a lot of significance with respect to the symbols. Look into this. From A to, if at all, if the communication is happening from A to B, it has to go via Q, and look into the arrow symbols. It was like a one directional. So A to B. Given that if this particular, the bottom symbols are not present, which means it's like the communication happens only one way. There is no way like two-way communication is going to happen. In this example, yes, we are having a two-way communication. A can interact with the B. At the same time, B can interact with the Q or A also. Like sending a messages. Again, don't worry, I'm just giving a high-level information, but again, like I'll give a complete view with respect to the MQ objects in tomorrow's session. Okay, now these are like a standard words. When we say we have a message which we want to keep it in the queue. Okay, it can be any application, can be MQ application or any of the application. If application wants to place a message to a queue, it's nothing but put. When we say MQ put, we are placing a MQ message to one particular queue. At the same time, get stands. If at all, if we want to retrieve or receive a message from a queue, we will be using like a MQ get. There are like internally, these are the high level the names, but internally it uses the MQ APIs to put a message. At the same time, it uses MQ API to get the message from a queue. So this is like, as I mentioned, think like both applications are available in the same system, and one application is trying to put a message, another application is trying to consume the message. If it is a kind of a two different systems, okay, system 1 is available in one location, system 2 is available in different location. The application program, application A wants to put a message, and application B wants to consume a message. So there is a concept of remote queue, local queue, transmission queue that we will go more in detail in tomorrow's session. That's what I said. Okay, with respect to the MQ objects, though we have a queues, some of them are like a local queue, some of them are like a remote queue, some of them are like a modal, alias. Okay, there are like a few queues, based on the functionality. Typically, local queues will be used for the storage, and the remaining, there are like a certain other queues which will be used for a communication purpose and also for others. Okay. Let's look into the sample diagram, how the MQ communication works with respect to system 1 to system 2. Like simple example, we want to send a message from application 1 to application 2. As I said, application 1 is hosted in one server, which is in New York. Application 2, which is available in London, it was hosted in the different server. How exactly we can have a communication to the different two systems? Wherever you see program 1, you can call it as an application. Wherever you see program 2, you can assume like it's an application 2. High level, yes. Program application 1 wants to have an interaction with the application 2 by sending a message. Okay. In this particular case, we are just focusing on only one scenario. Program 1 wants to have an interaction with program 2. So I'm talking about one way from A to B. Further, we would be requiring some kind of a setup from our end. In a sense, I want to send a file to you guys. So I need to have the file in my local system, and now I need to use a communication mechanism, which is email, probably like a Gmail or whatever Yahoo mail, whatever the email which is available. Then I need to know your address, in a sense, recipient address, to whom and all I'm supposed to send out an email. So once after I have the information, I will be sending I'll be drafting an email and I'll be clicking on send button, so that the email will go to the Exchange server. From there, it will identify, okay, yes, it has to be routed to the 3 different participants because I have given 3 different email addresses. So the email will be routed to the 3 different participants, the inbox. So when it comes to you, as soon as you guys open the email inbox, you can see the message which is being listed in your inbox. Okay. Now similar ways, I'm just trying to send the sample data from application 1 to the application 2, just in a one directional. Okay. Now I need to know what kind of a data that I'm supposed to send. Let's assume like I have a data, and I need to know the communication mechanism. As we know, we are using a MQ communication to send the data. So I need to know the MQ information, and I need to know the recipient details. In our case, I have given the email addresses. In this case, I need to know to whom I have to send this message. The server which is being located in the London. So I need to know the IP address. I need to know the server details. Then only I can have an interaction to the server which is being hosted in London. So application puts a message. Okay, again, we have a different queues. Don't worry about this. As soon as the message is being placed, it goes to the different queue. From there, it was trying to push out to the network, so that over the network, based on the address details. That's what I mentioned. Here I'm just placing a message. As I mentioned, message consists of the header as well as the payload. So based on the header, here we have another component. That component will try to push the message to the network. Now, over the network, with the help of header information, it will try to identify to whom I'm supposed to send a message. So that will identify the destination, the server which is hosted in the London, with the help of IP address or whatever. So then the message will be delivered to the London server. So as soon as that London server receives the message, it has to move the message to the right system or the right queue. So in this case, London system is having a queue. So as soon as the message comes, it delivered the message to the another queue. Again, this is more of a high level inputs with respect to the communication, but we need to get into more detail with respect to the different kinds of queues, the remote queue as well as transmission queue. Okay, and also what exactly the channel does. These are like a channels, as I mentioned, one of the queue object channels. So this is like,
stand for?
Sorry,
What is MCA stand for?
message control agent. This one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, message control agent. Okay, thanks.
Message control agent. Okay. This is like a channel information. What exactly channel does? Okay, it will identify the path to whom like it's supposed to send. In our case, channel is supposed to put a message into the network. So as soon as the message is being sent into the network, the receiver channel will identify, okay, what kind of a message that needs to be consumed. But there is a listener also. The London server needs to be like up and running. The way like our mobile has to be having a signal, or like we have to be in the coverage area. Then only we can listen that message. In a sense, we can consume. So as soon as it's being consumed, it sends to the channel. So that again, channel will identify to whom I'm supposed to send a message. So in our case, it's a local, another queue.
And one question, Shiva, when you're
Yes,
sending an asynchronous call,
Okay.
We don't need, even though we don't have a listener. Let's assume that we don't have a listener sending an asynchronous call. What will happen? It
Okay.
will be just waiting for that.
Yes, it depending on the scenario. If the listener is down, in a sense, if the system is not responding, it will message will be stored into the this part. In a sense, I would say the left hand part. Okay. Typically, the message will get stored over here in this particular case. So as soon as the message, I mean, the destination system is up and running, message will be sent into this way.
Oh, okay.
See, I mean, theoretically, this, I mean, it's the same as like our mobile messaging, right? If I send a text to you, if you are available, you will be able to receive it. If you are not available, definitely it will be stored into the one of the server. So as soon as you are ever available, the message will come to you.
Okay.
We will look into the triaging options also. What gonna happen if, I mean, if the listener is being stopped, where we can see the message and all. That also like I'll show you.
Yeah.
When we are giving like when we are doing like a MQ demo, the queue communication.
Okay.
Fine. Any other question so far?
Nothing from my side.
Oh, okay. And is it fine? I mean, I'm going in a normal phase, or like, I mean, do you feel like I'm like a little fast when I'm talking?
Yeah, no. As we are aware of little bit about all these concepts, so it's okay for us. Tomorrow onwards, maybe we will ask more
Yeah.
questions.
Okay, fine. I mean, yeah, definitely. Wherever it's a new concept, definitely like I'll reduce my pace and like we will spend more time. Wherever I feel okay, yes, it's more of a theoretical information which needs to be aware. I'll go in a little fast. Okay. And coming back to the installations, okay. I hope like everyone is having a Windows systems, right? Probably the Windows 8 or
Yes, I have Windows 10.
okay, fine. Yeah, that is fine. I'll ask Santosh to send out an email. Okay. I hope like now you know what and all the things which you need to install. Okay. I am fine with giving I mean demos on either IIB 9 or IIB 10. Okay. If you are finding a IIB 9 software, well and good, you can install IIB 9. Or else if you are not finding IIB 9, go ahead and install IIB 10. Whatever the concepts which are available in IIB 9, pretty much we'll cover everything. Okay. There are like a few concepts which are introduced in IIB 10. Even like I need to explore a little more. So towards the end of the session, if I say okay, what and all the things which are new in IIB 10, if I'm having like some kind of idea, definitely I will give you the demo also. If not, more of like a theoretical with respect to the IIB 10.
Okay.
So probably like you can start install IIB 10 or IIB 9 along with AMQ.
Shiva, this is Arun.
Yeah, Arun.
Hey, I mean, I was listening though. Yeah, apart from the installation on the MQ, I had one question when you were showing other diagram, but I just spell it out, which is like, are the queues only unidirectional? I mean, because you showed a diagram where you drop a message and like say A-B interaction, right? It went in a loop. So you showed two queues. So is it like sending should be done through one queue and then receiving should happen in a different queue? Is that concept? Yeah, this is the diagram. So, or
Okay,
the same queue can be used.
Okay. The queues are meant for a queue manager. Okay, let's assume like A is a one queue manager, B is another queue manager. Okay. Whatever the queues which we are having, those will be associated to one queue manager. In a sense, the queue manager A will be containing the different queues. Queue manager B will be containing different queues. When it comes to here, queue manager A is having access to put a message only to this queue, which means it is a local object. A and this particular box is a one system, just considering. Okay, I mean to say this one and this one. At the same time, in this way, queue manager B is capable of putting messages to the queue. And this queue, wherever you have like everything filled up with the red boxes, red messages. So what I'm trying to say is the queues are internal to the queue manager, and we will get to know more in detail tomorrow because there are different varieties of a queues: local queue, the remote queue. The basically functionality is going to get differ. Local queue is mainly for a storage, whereas the remote queue, it's not only for a storage, it's more of for identifying the remote object. As I mentioned, I am trying to send a message from A to B. I need to know what is the destination, the remote, I mean the system B details. That kind of information will be having in the remote queue definition. It's not a remote queue, it's it holds the definition to whom I am supposed to send a message. Whereas the local queue is being used for the storage purpose. So I will say, let's wait till tomorrow. Even if you're having the same question, you can revert to me probably towards end of tomorrow's session.
Yeah, sure.
After we have different varieties of queues. After we go through the different varieties of queues.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, sure. On the installation, I mean, I do have a Windows, and I've tried installing 10, so it should be okay. Yes.
Okay, so you have MQ as well?
No, I didn't install MQ. I just downloaded the IIB integration toolkit, right? That's the one which I downloaded.
Okay,
the
fine.
MQ and
I hope that you might have downloaded the installables from Partner World.
Yeah,
so
that's
the
right.
Same way, try to download MQ, probably version 7 or 7.5, whatever is available over the net.
Okay.
And I mean, the reason is, at least if I'm having one of your system, right, I'll remotely connect to your system and I can show you the demo part as well as like how to create a queue manager, whatever the exercise is, not only the theoretical.
Okay.
Yes. So at least, I mean, we have 2 more days to start with the demos. But before that, if you guys are done with installation, probably like as soon as we are done with the theoretical, we can straight away move to the demo part as well as like other concepts.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Okay. So Santosh is sending all the download links today. Am I correct?
Yes. I'll ask Santosh to send it to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So, any other questions?
Oh, nothing.
Okay then. Catch you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.